All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Boy, we have a lot to unpack today. Before we get started, please press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and as a disclaimer, this video is not financial advice. I am not a professional investor. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. So, what's going on today? It's Tuesday, January 28th. So yesterday and over the weekend, right, January 20th, and over the weekend, DeepSeek AI releases their chatbot. Today, Alibaba comes out with their Quinn. Let's go to the news app on Webull. Not sponsored, right? So Alibaba releases their new Quinn 2.5 Max. It outcomputes DeepSeek. It's also an open source model. All of this news coming on the back of the Lunar New Year. Also on the tariff fronts, right? The new administration said the tariffs for Canada and Mexico are still on the table for February 1st. No mention of China. So tariff fears are easing. Lunar New Year. Crazy news out of two companies now that China's in the race, right? Totally apolitical here, not picking a side, but as a value investor, right, you got to look at these companies. I'm going to talk about Alibaba, BIDU, and JD, right? And if you looked at my videos from the past week and 2 weeks, right, I really highlighted that these are undervalued. These are undervalued, and all it took was a little bit of news to start popping it up. Let's take a look at the charts. Okay, I have not downloaded DeepSeek. I have not downloaded any of these apps, and nor will I Chat GPT right now because they have the fastest and best model out there. All right, so looking at the 1 hour, right, you got now my video came out last week when this is sitting around $80, right at the Fibonacci number. All right, so you got all that news. Tariff fears kind of resided. New President Trump took office. And then you start to have this run up. DeepSeek AI, right? All the big U.S. tech stocks sold off. The Chinese stocks, stayed steady or even went up. Blasted through this 89 Fibonacci number, and then today, let's take a look at how the day traded today, right? Choppy all day, right? Going right into here on the 28th. Choppy all day, up and down. U.S. Nasdaq, Nvidia up 9%. And I'll talk about that later as well. If you didn't buy that dip, man, that was a gift, right? On the DeepSeek news, because I did another video and it's actually really bullish for Nvidia in the end. All right, so today trading choppy, kind of selling off. Boom, they released the news. The stock ripped higher with the close about 7%, right? Right up into the next. Sometimes you gotta love the Fibonacci lines. Right up to the 96.43, just about right at that next Fibonacci line. All right, so where do we go from here? All right, let's zoom out to the 3-month, right? So there was some stimulus pumped into the Chinese equity market recently, but the big package is still waiting to come, and that's what folks are really kind of waiting on, and that could really add gasoline onto this fire that's already kind of started here. So it's important that you broke past this previous high a few weeks ago, a month and a half ago at 93. So you blasted through that. You're now at this, stable support right here at 96, and the stock's still moving in the after hours. You don't know if it's going to open a few percent higher or whatnot. While people digest this news, they test out the bot. All right, but looking back at the 1 year, right, just on stimulus news, not on new AI models, trimming the balance sheet. This thing ran up to 117. You got to look at the forward PE right now. The forecast is 13.42, still trading, fairly valued compared to its peers in the U.S. Right, price to book not that bad, 1.6, and then trailing 12 month at 19. All right, so Alibaba was buying back a ton of stock in the 50s and 60s when it was down there, so those shares now have appreciated. Right now, your RSI is kind of getting up there again, right where it was. Do I expect a consolidation here potentially? The next big catalyst after this news, right, there's going to be a lot of hype buying. Would not be surprised to see the stock rip past 100 here. And if it does, you got 101, 104, 108 Fibonacci lines. So paying close attention to that. My position is pretty built out. Add a little bit more today. And in a future video, I might reveal my portfolio and, do something else. So now let's take a look at Baidu, right? So a lot of folks are saying, like, how is Baidu they have these data centers, right? They have partnerships with Tesla, Apple. Like, how is this stock so beaten down? Price to book is half of what Alibaba's is. This is 0.86. You're getting the company right now at $91.60 for cheaper than the book value. 4P 10.54, price to sales, and that's probably why, right? The price to sales pretty high. So they got to really come out here and release some new projects, and we'll see what's happened. But the same thing today, spiked up on the news, up 3.49%. Right, had my video out here last week at 77. All right, so next Fibonacci line can race up to 94, and then there's a big gap. Right, that big gap, excuse me, up to 117. Let's look at the year chart, right? And that's where it kind of ended up. So I think that's going to be a major a line to chase, a major gap to fill here, right? It's passing all the moving averages, momentum starting to pick up. All the news I just said, right, for these three companies I'm talking about, Alibaba, BIDU, and JD, right? So you get a little stimulus news here, you get an earnings beat. That's what you're going to need to rocket past 117, but that's another, 30% from here. So, again, have a decent position built out in Baidu down here in the 70s. All right. I don't even want to zoom out to the 5-year because this thing during the AI bubble, went to 354. But what you're seeing now, another comment, is that these large language models are starting to become a commodity. Now they're all open source. It's going to now give these smaller companies a competitive edge, right? They want to do like an assistant chatbot, a co-pilot. In a few years, maybe even a year or 2 years, right? Because they're all working on it. The programming, the code is all going to be open source. These folks are all going to need more NVIDIA chips or AMD, whatever they prefer, and more data center usage. And I see Baidu capitalizing on that. They have the data centers built out, so a lot of folks are going to be renting these data centers to train their models. All right, so bullish on all three of these. Let's take a look at JD, which is one of the more undervalued ones of the bunch as well. So price to sales below 1. That's amazing. Price to book 1.8. P4P ratio 11.53. All right, so you're getting this, I'd say another fair value on this company. Just messed up my lines right there. All right, let's take a look at the 1 day. Same thing. Trading pretty flat all day and then popped up on the news. Let's look at the 1 month. All right, so next Fibonacci line I have here is 42.94. Look at it bouncing off the 32 and riding on up. Just like stairs. Takes the stairs up, sometimes take the elevator down. So that's why everybody's really sensitive on this on the tariff news. All right, so that 42 line right there, you see that 42 line, beautiful. That was our last high. So if you want to see a cup and handle here, you got to see it past the 42, consolidate a little bit, build a handle. Here's your cup coming up, right? Expect on this news, hey, maybe good earnings, maybe some more stimulus, blow past the 42, and then I would expect a little bit of consolidation. And then the next line after that I have is 57. Let's draw this out a little bit. Yeah, the next line I have after that is 58. So what you're going to need to break through that line and go to 58, you're going to need a beat, raise guidance, some more great news, probably an enormous stimulus package, and then that's depending on what happens there. That's when I'm going to start looking to take maybe trim my position a little bit. I'd probably hit a double at that point. I bought 25 about a year ago, so. Yeah, if you're in this, you're getting in this, it's still fairly valued. We have to really analyze the earnings. I'm going to do a deep dive before earnings. I'm going to look at their balance sheets. I'm going to do analysis after earnings. So stay plugged into this channel. Make sure you like and subscribe. The last stock I want to check out today is NVIDIA. So let's look at the 5-day. All right, so off the DeepSeek news, major sell-off, consolidation. Stock, in the pre-market was up 5%. Then it opened down 1%. And then went on a complete and utter tear today. This is like, hey, get on all the weak hands. I can't handle this volatility. And then, folks that were waiting on the sideline to buy NVIDIA for a long time, they scooped up shares with the gamma squeeze. Shorts thought this was easy shorts going back to 90. And they piled in the stock, and now it's up 9% today. I was not an NVIDIA shareholder until yesterday, and I did buy in on that 18% sell-off. So, I have a decent position, just 8% of my portfolio, but NVIDIA looks to be the clear winner in this AI arms race. And kind of finishing my thought from before, right? Now that this stuff, these LLMs are open source, and this is just a start, right? We're in AI, we're in the second inning because LLMs are just the beginning, right? The prize is building artificial general intelligence, right? Robots, self-driving cars, airplanes, you name it, right? Flying planes, commercial planes, missiles. It's going to be embedded in everything. Your computer. So not only are they releasing like a commercial grade GPUs, Blackwell Hopper, but now they have their their new series of gamer graphics cards that they're coming out with, which I'm interested in buying the next series here coming out actually at the end of this month. So I'm starting to price that out, and I'm like, and I see a lot of folks say, "Hey, why Nvidia? Why not AMD?" It's like AMD is they're behind. They're just behind the race. The price points are sticky for Nvidia. Everybody wants the best product, and the way I look at it is, hey, I can buy one of these graphics card. It can last me the next 5, 6, 7 years on a $500 investment for a top of the line, maybe even upwards of $800. That may seem expensive, but it's the software needs to still catch up to these graphics cards still, and that's usually how it is. Moore's law is in full effect right now. Right, and now that all these companies is an AI arms race, they're going to need these chips. Not only that, gamers, right? Gamers are going to need more chips. Right? I don't want to go on and on to my thesis about Nvidia, but when you see it dip 18% on news that DeepSeek, trained their model for 6 million, I do not believe that hype. I believe that they have Hoppers and Blackwells, and even Nvidia came out and made that statement and said they likely have that. So I'd expect, you got to fill this gap now back up to at least the 140s, and that's where so even to get back to the lower end 130, so we're almost there, and then it'll probably stay in this channel right here. Look at this tight channel from 153 to about 130, and then we got a lot of earnings this week that I mentioned before, so we'll see what happens. But stay tuned to the channel. That's my recap. Where's my 12-month price target for Alibaba? At this point, right now, my 12-month, meaning the end, I'll get to next January, I would say 130 to 160, unless this thing really takes off and this model seems to be really competitive. And then let's take a look at, I'll give you my 12-month for BIDU. BIDU is going to be my 12-month prediction again over 130, and I'll give my analysis. I'll give a more in-depth analysis, like I said, when I talk about their balance sheet and their earnings before and after earnings, and then JD 12-month price target of 60 or above. All right, so RSI is really high on all of these, and it's kind of been up there. So expect again another consolidation. See what happens with earnings. There's a lot of hype into earnings. If the tariff fears against China from the U.S. kind of settle down, and Trump makes a formal statement saying, President Trump makes a formal statement saying, we're not going to tariff China. He already kind of mentioned they're already being tariffed. I don't think anybody wants a trade war at this point. We're trying to fight inflation in the U.S. So keep an eye on that. And then if the PBOC comes in and says, hey, it's now thinking to March. It's only 2 months away. Time's flying. At that next big PBOC meeting, and they say, hey, now's the time. We got some momentum. Let's inject the capital, inject it into equities or the bond market. And that'll give folks, the confidence to say, all right, this government actually is putting the floor in the market, quote unquote. And I think that's what people are anticipating right now. I know, if Michael Burry, big fan of the Big Short movie, right? He's been positioned for this for over a year now, I'd say. Probably closed out his shorts at this point, right? I know he rode the wave up during the September news on stimulus, and then had major short positions, so likely hedged. Stocks were taking hits, but his puts were balancing things out. So probably, and I would assume has sold his puts here. He maybe put some more puts on at before earnings at the next Fibonacci lines. But hey, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for staying this long in the video. I hope you make a few bucks out there. Stay tuned. A lot more great videos coming in, and we're going to do a deep dive analysis on all three of these companies before earnings.